All right, welcome to a tutorial on Firebase. This is going to be the first in a series because Firebase is an enormous topic and so powerful and so easy to use, and it's just a perfect pair with Flutter to make your backend so that you don't need to write your own server. It's really cheap and it's got everything from document storage to databases to file storage to notifications and cloud functions and analytics. It's insanely powerful. So this tutorial is just going to be the setup that we're going to do for Android. I'm going to leave you guys to do iOS setup on your own because I have a Windows machine for streaming and I actually can't do the iOS setup on this machine because you need to use Xcode to do it. But I'll link you the docs and it's really not too difficult. So first let's just start a project. I already have some code as well. So we're going to create a project and name it. So Firebase tutorial, continue. Analytics, sure. Create or choose a Google Analytics account. Default sounds fine. Then we create a project. So your project is going to have like a project ID, and then within it there's going to be apps. So we're going to have to create an Android app and we're going to have to create an iOS app, and then those are going to give us some config files that we're going to download and we're going to put in the correct place in our Flutter project so that we can connect. So your new project is ready. Let's go. Okay, so you don't really want to advertise your project ID and all of the config to connect to it because then people could see that and then insert a million documents, delete your whole database, etc. If you're developing, you probably don't have permissions set up properly yet. So it might be like a sandbox mode, and they could either cost you a lot of money or delete all of your work, something like that. So I'm going to block that stuff out, and I would recommend not advertising it. However, they're not like true secrets like passwords, these config files, especially if you have a web app. People will be able to get the config to connect to your app because they're using an app to connect to the Firebase, right? So you do have to make sure you put security rules and stuff eventually. We'll do that later. But for now, what we're just going to do is get started by adding an app. So we're going to do Android. So you need to use your package name, and we can find that in one of the Android files. I can't remember which one. This one. Okay, so it's the app level build.gradle. It's here, com.example.firebase tutorial. While we're in here, in order to use most of the Firebase stuff, you have to upgrade your min SDK to 19. So we're just going to do that now. So if you just go Flutter create, it likes 16 here. That's too old. We're going to need 19. So I'm just going to do that now. Okay, app nickname, optional if you have multiple apps that are connecting to it, like multiple like distinct Flutter apps connecting to the same Firebase project, you might want to do this. I'm not going to bother. This SHA-1 certificate is completely required for Google sign-in. We're going to do Google sign-in later, and this is optional for this step. It's required for Google sign-in though, so we'll do it later. We're not going to worry about that now. So we're going to register app. Looks good. We're going to download this file and we're going to have to put it into where it says here, the app folder of the Android part of the native code. Oops, I forgot to actually click download. Okay, dope. So now we have to do a couple things to our project level and build level app.gradle files. Okay, so what it wants is check that you have the following line, if not add it. Google in the build script of the project level build.gradle. So let's open up the project level build.gradle, and it has Google there, so that's fine. Add this line to dependencies, and it lets us copy it. That's kind of nice. Okay, so dependencies of build script. So dependencies of build script, we're going to put that right there. Then in here, check that you have the following line, if not add it, Google for repositories in all projects. And it's there, looks good. Okie doke. So now the app level build.gradle, we're going to have to add this line, which is applying the plugin for the Google services. So this goes above the Android section of the app build.gradle, right with the other apply plugins. These files are here and here, by the way, the app level one and then the top level one. Okay, so where did it say? In dependencies, we're going to add this, which is down here. And then analytics for Firebase, we'll just do that now, why not? Okay, so those both go inside dependencies. It looks good. Press sync now. So I don't actually have that button. So what we can do is just go Flutter clean, and then the next time that we build, it's going to rebuild all the Android stuff, and that stuff will take effect. So that should be fine. So let's go next. Okay, next steps, you're ready. Continue to console. So that's about it for that. Okay, so now we have an Android app, and we're going to be able to take this file and put it where it needs to go. So first, let's just take a little browse over the project settings here. So what we got is a project name, ID, number, etc., etc. Public facing names. So this stuff in the project number and whatnot, I would recommend keeping private unless you need to. And then the public settings obviously can just be whatever. Support email if you want. Okay, and then we have our list of apps. So here's our Android app. If you wanted to do iOS, you'd have to do that again and hit add and add iOS, and then follow the docs for what it says to do for iOS. It's very similar and pretty straightforward, so not worried too much about not showing you that, but should be able to figure it out just fine. Then we have all sorts of tabs for different things, but what we want to see is, let's go to Firestore and enable that right now, because I think that's the first thing that I'm going to do for the next tutorial. So here's Firestore. In order to connect to it, you need to click Create Database. You can't just start reading and writing from your app. You need to just hit Create. If you haven't hooked up a credit card yet, you're going to be on like a free plan, and it's not going to charge you. But once you read and write enough documents, it will start to charge you. But the price is not too bad. It's a lot cheaper than other options, or more importantly, building your entire server often and hosting your server too. Okay, so let's create it. So see, these are the rules I was talking about. We have allow read, write if false, so nothing can read anything or write anything. We're going to start in test mode so we can do whatever we want. When you're in test mode, basically you can read, write if anything, and that includes delete. So if somebody just sends a request to your Firebase and says, hey, delete everything, it will go through and it will delete everything. So this is like a sandbox. So you must update your security rules within 30 days to enable long-term client read-write access. You can't just leave this in test mode forever for a good reason. So we'll hit next and we'll just do test mode for now. This is the location for the bucket. I think US Central sounds fine. Okie doke. So now we'll have a Firestore to use in the next tutorial. And then we can do read and writes for document storage. So Firebase is a document storage, and it uses NoSQL. NoSQL is a funny name for document storage because there's no rows and columns for your storage, for your data. It's just documents with arbitrary JSON, and anything can be anything, which is really, really flexible, but also a little risky for validation because you can just save literally anything and it will save it there even if it was like kind of wrong for what your app actually expects. So basically there's collections of documents, and we'll use that pretty soon. Okay, so how about we go and put this file where it's supposed to go. Okay, I don't have anything too embarrassing in my downloads, just a SQL dump from work. Okay, so we go in the app folder there. Boop. Okie doke, so our config is there. And let's just look at the docs a little further. So I got this link from the Firebase core. Oh, you know what? Actually, let's start here because we're going to need to put this in our pubspec.yaml to use Firebase core. So let's do that. Mine is already there, but so Firebase core right there. And then from Firebase core, there's these documentation with how to get started, and that's what I clicked to get here. And then this has the setup again for Android. So if you and iOS. So if you forgot when you were clicking those steps, you can just go to these docs if you forgot what to do or didn't do it properly the first time for whatever reason. So let's just build the app and see what happens here. See if I did it right. It's looking good this time. It's compiling, so just expecting this one print statement to go through, and if it does, then we're all set up, and then we can do other dependencies like default to do navigate here. Perfect. So we got our Firebase app name. It's called default because we didn't give it a name. And yeah, if we add Firestore to our pubspec.yaml. Now that we've already built our Firestore in the console there, we're going to be able to read and write documents just like that. You have a whole server. Pretty crazy how powerful this stuff actually is and how easy it is to use. So yeah, in the next tutorial, what we're going to do is after init app is done, we're going to navigate you somewhere, and then I'll cook up something for some Firestore documents and build like a Firestore service. So I hope you enjoyed that one.